That's strange. Sorry, that's a weird way to start the the stream. Apparently, Facebook is not going live. It's giving me a warning. Hmm. Maybe it's the word choices. I'm gonna see if I can amend it quickly. See if that works. Maybe it doesn't like make Canada great again. Let's see if that works. It worked. What? So apparently on Facebook Live, you can't say make Canada great again. That is insane. Well, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from. Probably not from Facebook because it took a little bit to get going. For some reason, it wouldn't accept my title, Make Canada Great Again. Did Facebook get the memo that Make Canada Great Again is an extremist statement? Sorry, I just find this comical. But, anyways, welcome to your daily dose of Salt and Light with myself, Nadine Ness, where we talk about political issue, world news, trending things. We talk about things that are trending. Anyways, I wasn't sure what I woke up this morning, quite frankly, I didn't know what I was gonna talk about until like half an hour ago. More than half an hour ago. I guess I've been working on this for 46 minutes. I was trying to get TikTok hooked up and Instagram, and I don't know if Facebook. Hey, Gilo, let me know where you're watching from. You said aloha. I'm wondering if it's from Hawaii. But yeah, I don't know if Instagram is broken. I tried to get that done. I tried to get the TikTok live. I'll figure it out for tomorrow's episode. It took me like 30 minutes and I still wasn't able to make it work. So maybe tomorrow I'll be live on Instagram and TikTok as well. So yeah, so I wasn't sure what I was going to talk about. It's not like there's a bunch of juicy tea that's happening other than the tea in my cup here. I make myself a London fog every morning. So an Earl Grey with vanilla and milk. Okay, someone said Instagram is very hard to connect on StreamYard. That's good to know. Hmm. I'll have to figure it out. I'll work on that later. Maybe I'll send you a message. Do we follow each other on Twitter just to make sure I can? Let me see. If not, oh yeah, we do follow each other. I think we've chatted before. We have. Okay. I will DM you once the show is done. And yeah, so I wasn't sure what I was gonna talk about because it's not like there was a lot, but then I had booked what I do is I'll bookmark things while I'm on Twitter that I wanna talk about the show, and then in the morning, I'll kinda go through the bookmarks and decide what I'm gonna talk about, and I'm gonna highlight an MP that I think is doing a phenomenal job at getting information out there. I think the Conservative Party of Canada have really up their game with the communications and the videos and stuff. But anyways, I'm going to talk about that. This is an MP who's tackling the whole immigration crisis and he's not holding back. He's bringing to light a lot of issues that we have in our immigration program in Canada and its failures. So I'll talk about him. I'm going to talk about this new like multi-billion dollar project that's coming to Alberta and that I'm quite excited about. And I'll go through, I'm going to give examples too on what I think we can do to kind of increase and make our economic status in Canada better, increase our GDP and all of that. So And I'm going to use example of what's happening in the US because I see some huge success happening there. And I think conservatives could take note for when they get in power, which I think it will inevitably happen in the next, hopefully in the next year, if not sooner. Yeah, so I'll talk about that. And I think I have a few other trending things that's happening that I'll talk about, but I'll get started with the first thing, the thing that I'm really excited about. It's there's a video to it, so I'll open the video. First I'll show you the tweet that Danielle Smith did to announce it. So what a time to be Albertan. At 70 billion, this proposed data center mega project is set to be the largest investment in Alberta's history and the largest investment of its kind in the world. The jobs, economic diversification, and wealth generated will benefit Albertans for generations. Excited to see this incredible project led by by Kevin O'Leary. And then she tags him coming to Wonder Valley, located in the municipal district of Greenview. With Alberta's low taxes, free market, abundant natural gas, and skilled labor force, we're positioned to be a world leader in AI data center. Read the full release, but there's a video attached to it that I'm going to open up for you guys and we'll watch it. It's AI created, but it's actually quite well done. But let's switch it over to that screen. Let me know if the sound is wrong. I think I fixed all the sound issue with my mic. It turned out it was just wireless between the mics and the Scarlett thing that I use for my mics. And yeah, so I guess my wireless keyboard and mouse was affecting it. So that's why you kept getting that like interference. That is also, I've learned that's also why they tell you to put your phone on airplane mode in airplanes. It's because it can interfere with the communication, the sound system for the communications for the pilot. I watched a video explaining that yesterday. So it's not the pilot's going to crash. It just interferes with the speak, not the mic, the earphones and stuff that the pilots have. But yeah, let's switch it up to this video and I'll share it for you. Let me know if the sound is okay. I'll just prep it.
There's a valley where technology and nature will come together in perfect harmony, where the future will pulse at every turn. Bursting with nature and wildlife, nurturing the present as it embraces the future. A valley where the brightest minds unite, where electrons, machines, and data come together in an algorithmic dance. Wonder. It's not just a name, it's a mission. A data center campus that will sustainably marshal in a new era of innovation. The single largest AI compute data center park on Earth. Nestled quietly within 7,000 acres of forest land with trails, wildlife and recreation, and beauty. Welcome to Wonder Valley. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. Let's shape the future together.
Interesting. I'm trying to find out where Greenview is here. I found it on a map. I'm just going to explain it to you guys. Where is that? Okay, so it's north of Edmonton, in the middle of nowhere. Here, I'll show you guys. I'll share the screen. So that gives you a bit of an idea. Here. Let's share the map over here. You can kind of see it. So this is Edmonton. Edmonton, Calgary, Greenview. It's going to be hard to convince people to move all the way there. It's between Grand Prairie and Edmonton. Interesting. Anyways, so that's coming to Alberta. I think this is huge. I don't think people realize how big this is because this is going to put Canada on the map for AI technology or all technology, to be honest. It is going to be like the Silicon Valley of Canada. And whether you like AI or not, the fact is that's the direction the world is going. You're not going to be able to stop it. It's just like when the internet was invented. You had so many people that were skeptical of it who weren't really wanting it to expand and stuff, but it happened either way. And look at how much our lives have changed. Some for the better, some for not the better. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what it's going to do for the economic status of Canada, especially if we become like a strong force. I think it's going to attract a lot of really bright minds that are in the AI technology world, which Canada has some. There are some in Edmonton, but it's very, very small. A lot of the really highly qualified end up going to the US for the opportunity there. But I do know there are a lot of tech in Edmonton. But yeah, we'll see if what impact it's going to have. And then I have a friend who I mentioned him before, Kirk Luby. I don't even know if I'm saying his name right. He'll have to correct me. Lubimov? Lubimov? I'll just call him Kirk. He says incredible news in Alberta and for our tech sector with the Wonder Valley, an AI data center industrial park that will be built just outside of Grand Prairie in Valley View, northwest of Edmonton, and will be North America's largest project. Ooh, that's interesting. It will generate 7.5, is that gigawatts? I think that's gigawatts, GW, of hyperscalers, with the first phase being 1.4 gigawatts or GW. I don't know what that is. Do you guys know what that is? With an investment of 2.8 billion and a 70 billion lifetime. The project itself will demand single digits of Canada's electrical generation capacity around 5%. I'm also excited about this project as it will bring economic opportunity to smaller areas, expanding and diversifying economic viability, something I've been pushing for. So Kirk is someone that's a lot much smarter than me. So he's one of those really, really brilliant mind. I'm good at dumbing things down. So and I don't claim to be a savant or a genius. I barely function in English. I barely function. I know 2 languages. I know how to speak French and English, and both of them I'm poor at. But my strength, where I'm smarter at, that is reading people and psychological, studying people in on the psychological aspect of it or behavioral aspect of it. My husband, we always joke about this because my husband is a genius. He finished second of his class in all of engineering. Only one guy beat him, his best friend. And he went to med school, finished top of his class after doing a degree or whatever you call it, bachelor's degree. I think that's what it is in engineering. So in electrical engineering. So yeah, maybe he'll get a job in this new project. I'm really excited about this. And I'm to be honest, I'm shocked that this is happening right now with the current state of Canada. But I also think it's happening because they know Trudeau's on his way out. So yeah, so that was, I think this was super exciting. I'll see what else there is on that. I think that's it that I have on that subject. The next thing I want to talk to you about is this MP that I've just started following. So I don't know his whole history. I don't know when he became an MP, but I'll see if I can bring up his profile if it says where he's an MP for Oxford. That must be in Ontario. He's the CPC National Outreach Chair, former lawyer, sports fan. So anyways, I've just started following him, but he's been doing some really wonderful videos, and I'm glad to see the Conservatives starting to do this more. I know Pierre was ahead of this and started doing it when he was running for his leadership campaign. But I'm finding this a really good thing because they can't get to the general public through the media, so they have to do it in other means, and usually it's through social media. So the more they start creating content like this, the more their message gets out there. So this is one of the video. I haven't watched the entire video. I watched a big portion of it, but where he talks about basically our immigration system, our refugee system, and I'll share it with you guys. I just got to switch the settings here for the screen. And then I'll open it up. There you go. And we can watch it together.
Last week, we heard shocking testimony from government officials on things that we have been talking about for months. They confirmed that we had over 200,000 new refugee referrals sent to the government of Canada. 200,000. That's the highest it's ever been. I want you to hear directly from them. Watch this clip.
A case be processed at the RPD from being referred to you and finding a decision?
Currently, it's 14 months. We're funded for about 60,000 finalizations this year. But with the intake right now at over 200,000 claims, the wait time for a claim that's coming in now will be about 44 months.
And do you expect it to keep on growing as well?
If intake keeps growing, so about 70% of our inventory is about a year old. Less than a year.
Does it last this high? Is this a first time you're seeing this in our country?
The highest volume that the IRB has had.
By having 200,000 new refugee referrals coming to the department, the wait time has gone up from 14 months to process a file to now 44 months. That's the highest it's ever been. And why does that matter? It matters because now it gives an applicant, which we're seeing a lot of fake asylum claims from, stay in the country for an additional 44 months with status. They're allowed to get a job, they're allowed to get health care, they're allowed to stay in our country. Out of the 200,000 new referrals, 70% are just within this year. So all the changes Mark Miller has made has actually led to this crisis. And we spoke about this in our previous video as well. An average refugee cost taxpayers $82,000 per refugee per year. This is just another example of chaos that this government has caused in the program. In the last video we made, I showed you how Mark Miller has no idea of what's happening in his own department.
That volume is disconcerting. It's really a system that has gotten out of control, and it's a conversation that we need to have.
I asked his department reps the same questions, basic questions that you could get Google answers for, but they had no idea. Watch this clip.
Do we know what the number of approvals were last year for student visas?
We can also table those figures with the committee.
Do we know how many came through the student direct stream versus the regular channel?
Happy to provide that data to the committee.
Do you know what the average processing time was for the student direct stream?
I can provide that data separately to the committee.
Do you know how much time it took to process the security component of those SDS programs for those applicants?
I don't have that information with me, but we can provide that information to the committee.
They had no idea. Justin Trudeau and his Liberal ministers, Mark Miller and Sean Fraser, have destroyed our immigration system. They have caused chaos in our refugee program. It is clear that they have lost control of their own departments. If Mark Miller spent as much energy running his department than he does running his mouth, we may not have had the problems we have today with immigration. But he's so busy chirping his own caucus, calling them garbage because they're challenging their leader.
Any minute spent on this garbage is a minute that's not spent on.
He's not focused on our system. He's focused on his party's interest. These delays are problematic because in Canada, as a compassionate country, we've helped those that are fleeing persecution, that are fleeing war, who are real refugees. But under this government, they have increased so many fake claims happening in the system that these delays are going to hurt everyone. The refugee program was never supposed to be a backdoor entry into our country to get a work permit. It was supposed to be there to help those that were fleeing persecution, that had an active war in their country of origin, and that wanted to save their lives. Unfortunately, with this government, that is no longer the case. We have seen from January till September, 14,000 international students file for asylum in Canada. That's not fair. And the crazy thing is, Mark Miller himself acknowledges that most of these cases are likely going to be fake asylum claims of folks that are, their status is expiring but want to stay in this country. That's not acceptable. Justin Trudeau nor Mark Miller can actually fix the problem. They created the problem, but they're so preoccupied on other pet projects, they're so preoccupied on their own leadership that they don't care about the system. They broke it, we'll fix it.
Wow. I'm in utter shock. I had watched some of it, but not all of it. I didn't realize so you can have someone who crosses the border and then claim asylum or refugee status, whatever you want to call it. They're asylum seekers. And because their case takes 4 years to process, during that time they can get jobs, they can just stay here and live off the government in the tune of 82,000. If we're looking at this number, 82,000 per asylum seeker, that's a cost to the Canadian taxpayer, and there's 200,000 coming in. That's $16.4 billion. I'm just going to see. How many millions do they say pay taxes? I think it was something. Was it 30 million? I'm just doing some calculation. $546 that each Canadian taxpayer pays towards this. Do you have $546 to put towards this? We know that's not accurate per se, because a lot of people pay more taxes than other people. But that's the average cost to the Canadian taxpayer. And that's if it stays at the current rate that it's at. Wow, I didn't realize it was that bad. Now it all makes sense. And all these people who came on study permit are now claiming refugee status so that they're not being sent back. Wow. That's a much bigger problem than I thought. Sorry if I look shocked. I just didn't realize it was this bad. He's got another video here I'll share with you guys. I'll see what he says in this one. You know what? I love that they're talking about this, and I love that they're bringing light to this, because Canadians would probably not know. And I love that they're making videos that has the hope of reaching people, just so people can understand how big of a failure this is and how much it costs you, everyday Canadian.
The population growth we saw of 300%, the highest it's ever been since 1950s, is a federal responsibility. You are the one that is signing off on these approvals. It is your government that is responsible for this. But it looks like to me that you're just literally pointing fingers at everyone else but yourself and your predecessors in Canada. Do you not think it's right for you to take some responsibility for these actions that have taken place? Do you not? Shouldn't you put Mark or Sean Fraser on the list as well of some of those bad actors that have been a part of the problem?
Sean Fraser is one of the guys who counseled me to do this, and we all bear our.
So after creating the problem, there's
lots of responsibility to go around, Arpan. And
So basically, this video is where. Is Sean Fraser the one that used to be the immigration minister? Yeah, it is. It is. He's the tall, dark, and handsome one. But nothing in the brain. Actually, he's much smarter than Trudeau, but that's not a hard feat. But yeah, so they're blaming here. I'm just gonna bring you back to the tweet that video was on. They're trying to blame everyone else for their failure. I shared a video yesterday about Trudeau as well. He was talking about immigration at this event, and that's where he talked behind Trump's back. And by the way, I've been made aware it's not Junior, it's not Donald Jr. Trump, it's Donald John Trump. So J stands for John, if someone was watching yesterday and you thought it was Junior because I said so. But anyways, he was talking bad behind his back, which is just going to cost us. That's how much of an idiot Trudeau is. But it's interesting. They're just blaming everyone else. They're blaming on bad actors. They're blaming on other things. Why is it that we have 200,000 asylum seekers coming into Canada? There was a tweet yesterday that I talked about, and I should have found it, especially since I'm talking about this. But there was a tweet that Justin Trudeau made that would make sense. I'm going to see if I can find it. I'm just going to do a quick search here. It would explain why we're having so many. And you know what? The thing is, the people who have taken advantage of the system go back to their family, go back to their country, and talk to them and let them know how they took advantage of the system. Asylum. Is that how you spell it? No, I spelled it wrong. Again, I'm mediocre at both English. I had Maria was watching my show yesterday, and she said exactly what his tweet said in the comments. If you're watching today, put it again in the comments. Maybe I'll try to find it. I should have had it saved for this show because I think it's important people know why we're having that issue. So how do we fix it? Well, first of all, you do big statements like Trump did in the US, and you say that you're going to deport anyone who's not legally entitled to be in Canada. You're going to deport and ban anyone from applying who fraudulently applies as an asylum seeker or refugee. That's proven to be false. That's how you stop it. You say you're going to deport them. But I don't know if we'll see that happen. I don't know if we'll see that boldness coming in. Definitely not from Trudeau, but I'm curious if we're going to see that from the Conservative Party. A lot of people are saying you won't. They're too afraid, but I don't know. A lot of people were saying Pierre would never address certain things that he's spoken publicly about and started addressing. And I've noticed him being a lot bolder in his stance because he's realizing no matter what he does, the media is not going to side with him. They're going to attack whatever he does. So might as well move ahead with the agenda that your party wants in and the agenda that your party voted for. So for most people that don't know this, like the leader of a party, yes, they lead the party, but they're not the ones who decide what's going to be the party priority. It's anyone who owns a membership that goes to the AGM. They vote on this. They vote on specific policies. They vote on priority. They vote on amending the bylaws for the party, things like that. So it's the membership. So if you own a party membership, you get to have a say. And if you're one of the delegates that goes to the AGM, obviously not everyone can go to the AGM. The best way of getting to go is to join your MP's board and becoming a board member for the constituency association. And then you can be chosen as a delegate to go. So, but yeah, you're seeing that more and more them follow what the membership has chosen. Now, it wasn't always like that. When O'Toole was in charge, he didn't follow any of it. So the leader of the party is still accountable to the membership, because the membership can do a leadership review to boot the leader, or the MPs can come together kind of the way they did during the convoy and got rid of O'Toole. So once they knew they had enough people, they made that step forward. So I remember at the time, I won't say like my full involvement, but I was evaluating to see which MP was on our side and which one wasn't. It was easy to find out. If they ran away from me, wouldn't come near me with a 10-foot pole, then they probably weren't on our side. But it's easy to tell which side that they were, because they all know each other, they all know people. But once they had the idea, and you can thank the convoy for that, the convoy that came through Canada, because it became a lot clearer how many were supporting the convoy, how many were being brave enough to stand with the convoy, or even talk positively about it, or start attacking Trudeau for the policies that he had put forward. I don't think that would have happened, that they would have been as emboldened if it wasn't for the Freedom Convoy going to Canada, to Ottawa. And I don't think they get enough credit for the pressure that they created it, and the thing that they helped with. It created an environment where they knew they had enough to boot O'Toole out. So yeah, that's a different subject than what I was planning to talk about. But here I am going on, what's it called? Like not rabbit hole trails? No, because it's not rabbit hole. There's a term for it. I just can't remember. I'm just looking to see what. This is a comment from one. I was stoked for the AGM. I was going to go to vote Kenny out. Guess what they did to us? They moved the vote online. You know what? I remember that. Eventually, there was still something that happened, because they tried to stop. There was a group in Alberta called Take Back Alberta that was organizing to get Kenny out, and they tried to stop it. But they had so many members that they were able to still make it go ahead. But it's interesting to see the lengths that they will go to circumvent democracy. And I say that because I don't think Canadians understand the influence and power that we have in our very finger when it comes to influencing government. A lot of people say, oh, it's a lost cause. You won't be able to affect change. Like it's you can't influence the ones that are currently in government. And that's simply not true. You can have a huge influence. Groups like Take Back Alberta showed exactly that. Did they get everything they wanted after the fact? No, but they got rid of Kenny. So you can have a massive influence if you get a party membership, whatever party that is, and join your MLA's board or your MP's board. And then you have like their direct ear. You get to share your concerns directly with them, and you get to influence policies at the party level. But a lot of people don't even know about that. You get to show up and vote at nomination election, where you get to basically handpick which candidate's going to represent you. And some people will say, well, the party won't approve the candidates that we want to be on the ballot for the nomination election. Well, then you join the board so much all throughout the province or all throughout the area, so that you get to have influence as to which candidate gets picked. Like, it's all democratic. A person just needs to read their legislation for their party, their constitution. You get to see how easy it is. I know how easy it is, because we were able to influence that. Freedom-minded people were able to influence that in Saskatchewan in the last election. We had several MLAs win several of our people win the nomination election, and we're on the ballot for a party that's now in power. So it's easy. You just need people to get off the couch and actually do it. And you need people to teach people how to do it, which is what essentially we did as an organization. We did 18 town halls throughout the province and we taught exactly that. So, but yeah, I don't think it's a lost cause. You can influence the change. You just need to know where to be, when, at what time, and basically the criterias that you need. So with that being said, there's also a negative side to this. One of the criterias for party membership and voting in a nomination, you don't need to have Canadian residence. You don't need to be a Canadian citizen. To vote in an election, you do. But to vote in a nomination, you can have a party membership and vote and not be a Canadian citizen. Why is this problematic? Well, that's why you're hearing a lot about China's influence in our elections, election interference. You had big groups that knew this, that would go to the schools and grab people from that school to go vote in a nomination, and they influence the nomination vote to get the candidate that was more pro-China elected. And that's an easy fix. You change the legislation in all the parties, including federal, that you have to be eligible to actually vote in the election, for one, and you have to be a Canadian citizen to be able to influence a nomination race. But yeah, I don't know why that hasn't been changed yet, especially if with the big concerns that we have over election interference. That should be something that should be put in place. And you saw that actually be a really big contention point. I'll give you a perfect example of that. We had some provincial MLA races in Saskatchewan where you had a group of immigrants, and not all of them are immigrants. I'm sure some of them were born in Canada, but you'd have someone who's now Canadian running, and in the nomination election, you'd have like 1,000 people or 1,100, I don't remember the exact number, show up to vote in the nomination election to get their candidate in. But then in the general election, you had the exact same number. Many of the people who couldn't vote in the nomination, who could vote in the nomination, couldn't vote in the general election because they weren't Canadian citizen. So you saw that happening on a mass scale in Saskatchewan, where there was more votes in the nomination election than there was in the provincial election. So that makes you think, right? How much of this is foreign interference? And if it can happen in Saskatchewan, it can happen anywhere. So, and that's just on a small scale with a provincial MLA race. So, yeah, and these are just straight facts. They're not based on racism or anything. Like I said, I have friends from all different race from all over the world, and I just think there's an issue when you have a foreign entity in a foreign country that can have a major influence in our democratic processes in Canada. And the problem is we have that open door because we have that legislation or that party constitution that says that they can get a membership and they can vote. And I think it needs to change. I think it needs to be taken right out because it is being used and taken advantage of for foreign interference. So that's another subject for another day. This kind of stuff I'm knowledgeable on and well aware. The stuff that Danielle Smith is talking about, that not, but how our democratic processes run in this country and where our shortfalls are, that I'm very well aware and well informed on. Okay, next subject. Oh, this video. I want to share this video. I wonder if I have it up here. Yeah. Let me see.
That was the big crisis that was.
Sorry about the loud noise. So this is a video. So if you don't follow Clyde Do Something, I highly recommend you do. He is on YouTube. He's the one that kind of helped me figure out my whole show too, what to use. And I really like him. I've been on his show a few times, and he has this episode. I think it's every Friday, he told me. I'm sorry if I got it wrong, Clyde, but every Friday he has an episode where him and Marty do a show. And I think this is a clip from that episode. So I'll play it to you because it's really interesting. Like when you see that graph, you can't You can't understand it any other way.
The GDP's down. The taxes are high. Inflation's back at 2%, and the liberals are proud. The liberals are being drilled by Donald Trump. We got a real threat on that side. We got threats here. We got threats there, and the liberals are worried about giving us a 60-cent tax break on our rotisserie chicken.
It just dawned on me today when I looked at this this graph here. You can see where Trudeau was elected.
Yep.
And the dip that came before that, that was the 08 crisis.
Yep.
That was the big crisis that was worldwide. And it pales in comparison. You can barely see the COVID blip. The COVID blip was nothing compared to the 08 crisis. And the 08 crisis is nothing compared to what Trudeau has done to the Canadian economy.
I really, really, really dislike Trudeau. Just see, I have such a hard time playing videos that he's in it because it's like nails on a chalkboard. So I'm sorry if you're the same, that I put you through that torture. But yeah, that graph, I'm just going to go back to it. We're almost as in down a dip than we were like during the crash of 2008 when Harper was, I think it's when Harper was in. But notice one thing about the dip that we're in. It's not being matched by the US. The US is going up, up, up. So you can't even blame COVID. Like they're trying to blame COVID. Oh, we haven't recovered. No, 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 no. The US had COVID too, and they're going up. But Canada's going down. Wow. And that's investments per capita. That means like businesses, instead of coming to Canada, they're going to other places in the world. But look at investments in the US. They're getting better, better, and better. 51st state is looking better and better every single day. Okay, don't get all upset here. It's just a joke. It's just a joke. I know so many people are getting so hurt by joking about it, but I'm going to keep joking about it because it's comical. And we have freedom of speech in Canada still. This is another video that I wanted to show because I'm going to now go into a little bit of US news, but I just realized I didn't put this video up top, so I've got to do that quickly before I can play it. And then I'll play it for you guys. It's one of those videos that just makes you feel good and just makes you proud to be Canadian. Okay, so it's at a hockey game, and the hockey game is in Canada, and something happens to the mic, and it stops working. And this is how Canadians respond. Way to go, Canada. Way to go. Anyways, I thought that would be a good intro into sharing some of the things that I see Trump is doing that I think Canada need to think about doing themselves. So I'm going to see. Oh, before I go into that, I shared a video yesterday about Jesse Waters talking about why the US, why Canada should become the 51st state. So basically he's selling Canada to Americans, the benefit that it would be for Americans. So I guess there's another one of those videos. He's kind of said more on it. I'm just going to find it here quickly. Yeah, here it is.
Western is Republican, Eastern's the Libs, fine. Split it down the middle. He would go down in history as the most expansionist president of all time, over Polk, over Jefferson. We're talking about more than
the Louisiana Purchase.
doubling the size of the United States. Now, I talked about all the economic benefits last time, but I have two new benefits I'd like to share with the audience. One, we think we have a housing crisis now. People can't find homes. The rent's too damn high. Go to Canada. You get 1,000 acres for $50. You can hunt, you can fish, you can swim, you can hike, build yourself a log cabin. Problem solved. Next thing. You know how global warming's getting worse, Jessica? I've even noticed it myself. It can become really nice and temperate in Canada.
That's what we need. That's
We
what
might
we
just
gotta
all
move. We
move
need to
north
own it
and
so we
be
can
like
move
North
there. That's
Carolina.
right.
just
Yeah.
enjoy the weather.
Jessica, it's a hard-hitting question.
Western.
So those are the two added things that Jesse Waters says is a sell for Canada to be a 51st state. So I find it funny. I don't know where he's talking about where you can get 1,000 acres for $50. I have my husband and I, we have 222 acres, and it was not $50. It was a lot more than that. Basically an arm and a leg. Mind you, we have it on the river, so it's like sought after land in a way, but it's not sought after land because it's not great land for farming, which is usually where the value comes in. But yeah, $50 for 1,000 acre. Where is that? Do you guys know? He must have heard it somewhere. But Jordan Peterson. So Sharon Might says Jordan Peterson. Okay, first, she's doing a lot of great comments here. You should do videos about the other Randy. Yes, I've heard mentions of that, but I don't know the details of it. If you have a video that explains the basis of it, I could talk about it on my show, or maybe I should just research a little bit more and put a compilation of videos together so I could explain it to you guys. But I've heard about it. I just don't know the details, but I've heard like people mentioning the other Randy. So if you know of the details, send it to me because I would sure love to inform myself. And then she says, Jordan Peterson moved to the States. Yeah, I know. He moved to Arizona, not in Phoenix, but like a small kind of town connected to Phoenix. I saw that. I didn't know where he had moved. I thought it was Texas because Daily Wire, I believe, is in Texas. But no, apparently it's in Phoenix. She said, Jordan Peterson would be great to have on. Yes, I agree. I don't think he would come on my show. He does follow me back on Twitter, so that's something. And I have met him in person. Maybe I'll meet him again. When I do, I'll see if he'll come on my show. He has a connection to Saskatchewan. His brother still lives in Saskatchewan, and I know they were camping up north. One of my friends, who was it, ran into him at some lake up north of PA, I think. And so yeah, he has some connections here. He's originally from Alberta. Interesting tidbit about Jordan Peterson that people don't know. Him and I have something in common. Jordan Peterson used to be a lefty. So he actually helped Rachel Notley's dad get elected with the NDP when he was younger. And he was left for a big part of, like left-leaning for a big part of his life, and then became a conservative. Kind of like me. So a lot of people don't know that. So they like to call him this far-right extremist, and the same way they call me that. But I used to be left most of my life. So the left has just gone insane. So I'm not left anymore. The window has completely moved right over. So yeah, so interesting video by Jesse. Next subject. Okay, so this is something Trump has announced. I think it was just yesterday, which is huge. My friend Kirk, that I'm mentioning again, He says, forget about everything else that Donald Trump said about Canada. This will be the most impactful move yet. While Canada adding more taxes and investment chasing away red tape, Trump just announced that $1 billion investments will receive a runaway with expedited approval and permits. This is huge. I don't think people realize how huge this is. So Trump says any person or company investing $1 billion or more in the United States of America will receive fully expedited approval and permits, including, but in no way limited to, all environmental approval. Get ready to rock. So Donald Trump posted that in Truth Social, I believe yesterday. Sorry, I have hiccups. Bad timing. But yeah, he approved that yesterday. Or he posted that yesterday, I believe. Kirk is usually pretty on top of things. Yeah, that was the 10th. So what does that mean? Anybody who has big business that they're looking for somewhere to settle to do their big projects is now going to look to the US. If you had the option of picking Canada, that's like full of red tape, that's never, things just don't get approved. Like you can look at a million different projects we've tried to have in Canada that just never happen, versus the US, where Trump says if it's $1 billion or more, we're gonna make it faster, make it easier, make it better. Which I think this is a huge move to, and I think after, that graph that I shared earlier, I'm just gonna see if I can share it quickly again. Here.
Yep. And the dip that came before that.
This graph. Just imagine after that announcement, what's happening here. You're going to see that go way up, and Canada's just going to keep going down. So that would be a really good thing too, that Pierre should be talking about if he becomes the next prime minister, because this would be a huge thing to drive investment into Canada. And once he gets elected, if he's been talking about it, it'll set in motion business investment into Canada. I saw a video the other day, or not a video, a graph, and I was shocked. I didn't see the full validity of it, but I remember whoever posted it was someone credible. So I thought, okay, this is probably true. But it showed how many public sector jobs there are compared to private sector jobs. And every single province, the public sector jobs was way higher than the private sector jobs, except Alberta. Alberta was the exact opposite. The private sector job was way high and the public sector jobs was way lower. So when you're looking at public sector jobs, some people might not know what that is. So anything like that you're paid by the provincial or federal government. So teacher, first responders, healthcare, government, like road maintenance, all of that are public sector. Private sector is like small business, bigger corporation. Those would be considered private sector jobs. If the government is paying your salary, any form of government, even town government is paying your salary, then it's public sector. But yeah, I was shocked. I didn't realize it would be that high for the public sector versus private sector. So no wonder when you have like governments like Trudeau promising the world to public sector jobs, you'll have more people vote in that way. And that's only gotten more and more worse and worse and worse in the last 10 years. I'd be curious to see. I'm going to see if I can find it and talk about it on my show tomorrow. But that's a huge problem, because then all the money is coming from the taxpayers that's paying the jobs. There's nothing kind of being invested into, I guess, basically the same thing Trump is announcing. Taxes from private sector job goes to fund public sector jobs. And if there's barely any, yeah, we're in for a disaster, I think, if it keeps going that way. Sorry, it's so doom and gloom. Next tweet that I think Canada should think about doing as well, that Trump just announced. Here are statues incoming. Who would you get as a statue? If we did this in Canada, who would you put as a statue? So Trump says America is going to start building monuments to our great heroes and heroines again. So they haven't been doing that for years. And he's saying we're going to start doing that again. So, oh, I'm so sorry. If we started doing that in Canada, who would you want as a statue or a monument as a great hero and heroine? I can think of one. Is it Wayne Gretzky? Oh. Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if you guys know, but there's like recent controversy. A lot of people are trying to cancel him because he was at Mar-a-Lago. I keep butchering it. Mar-a-Lago. I'm just gonna say Mar-a-Lago, but I'm gonna see if I can find it. It was so funny. I just thought it was hilarious. So I'd want one of Wayne Gretzky. He's a legend in hockey, and he's also a legend for going to Mar-a-Lago. Here. Wayne Gretzky. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. Mar-a-Lago, yeah. That's how you say it. Here, I'll see if I can share this screen. Greatest NHL player of all time, Wayne Gretzky. Did I spell it right? No, I didn't. I really butchered it. Here. I'm sorry, Wayne. Please forgive me. Yeah, I would want a monument of Wayne Gretzky. Anyways. Oh, wait a minute. Someone says he has a Vax commercial. Wayne? Never mind. I take it all back. Like a COVID Vax commercial? Let me know. Next subject. Oh, no. Yeah, Mark says yes. Never mind. I take it all back. Next subject. Oh, this one's big. Breaking. I don't know who Tom Renz is, so don't come at me if he's like not a trustworthy person. But this website appears to be legit. I confirmed it, and it is there. Biden extends the emergency declaration for COVID-19 to extend liability protection for the deadly mRNA COVID vaccine. The Biden administration has extended the emergency declaration for COVID-19 through 2029 in an attempt to prevent liability for mRNA vaccine, COVID vaccine manufacturers. It is likely that RFK Jr. will be releasing information regarding the lack of safety and efficacy of these jabs, so lawsuit would likely follow. This last-ditch attempt to save Big Pharma. So I'll show you guys. So this was just released on December 11, 2024. So today. Is it today? Is that post? Yeah, that's post. Was it released like in the middle of the night? The post was made at 12 a.m. Basically, it protects them from liability. I think to a certain extent, but I don't know if you guys have been following. There's a case in Texas. They're suing them because they said they lied on their like application or whatever. The information they provided the government, they lied on it. They made false declaration that it was safe and all that stuff. So I do know that there are some lawsuits happening, and there's one in Texas. Here, I had it. I tweeted it to someone. I'm going to see if I can find it. And then I'll read it out to you. I didn't tweet it to someone. Sorry. I texted it to someone. Oh, weird. Now I can't search my... Oh, that's so weird. The search function is not working for Messenger anymore. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on and make a conspiracy that it's the powers that be doesn't want me to find it. It was a while ago that I sent it, though. Oh, weird. It's showing like messages from way back. Anyone else's phone acting up? Weird. Anyways, can't find it. We're just gonna let it go for now. But there is a court case in Texas. They are suing, I think it's Pfizer. Next subject. Andrew Scheer did a video. I'm not going to play the video. It's quite long. Conservatives have formally demanded that Parliament sit an extra day to hold Trudeau to account for his deficit. So Freeland is tabling basically like a report on their spending and stuff. I'll read this tweet out for the people who can't see it. Conservatives have formally demanded that Parliament sit an extra day to hold Trudeau to account for his deficit. He is forcing Freeland, how Tucker said it, Freeland, to table the bad news on the second last day, and then will run and hide for 6 weeks. If he's going to blow past the 40 billion guardrail, the least he can do is answer to Canadians for it. There's a rumor flying around that the deficit could be as high as 46 billion. A guardrail is a last resort safety mechanism that prevents you from falling off a cliff. If you break through it, you crash. All the extra debt costs Canadians in inflation and higher interest payments to bond holders. Trudeau is driving our economy over that cliff. Inflation, higher taxes, and lost jobs will be the result. If he has nothing to hide, he'll stand to answer for it in the House of Commons. So I see these kinds of things a lot, and I'm not saying that it's not true what they're doing. They're probably trying to hide and stuff. But I'm curious too, what would an extra day do? I don't mean to be doom and gloom here, but what would an extra day do? Maybe more will get out to the Canadian public, but they're already not answering questions. Like they almost never answer any question. They just say talking points. So what would an extra day of back and forth, Conservatives asking questions, them not answering, like really, what would it do? I don't know right now. Like Canadians know that the Liberal government is completely corrupt. They want a new government. They want an election. And the majority of Canadians want that. But it's not happening. There's scandal after scandal after scandal. And they still get supported by Jagmeet Singh and the NDP. They support all of their motions. All of everything gets passed. And I don't blame the NDP for doing that, because the NDP has no chance in ever forming majority government. So the only way they can get anything passed that they want is to basically threaten Trudeau. If you don't pass this, I won't support you. And Trudeau is in a spot where they kind of have to do it. But it's funny. I don't see very much difference anyways between the ideology between the NDP and the Liberal government. They all kind of think and feel the same way. There's no, I don't see any difference. So what's one more day going to do? I don't think it, to be honest, until we get to a point where NDP candidates or NDP MPs or just any start voting for their conscience instead of following the party line. I don't know how we're going to change anything. They have the majority vote. They've been passing everything they want to pass, even though they form an alliance that Canadians didn't vote for. So, sorry, I'm doom and gloom. The only thing, to be honest, the only thing that I think could actually topple the Liberal government is exactly what just happened last week when Trump announced that he was going to do a 25% tariff. If their incompetence and insane way of governing Canada is creating an environment where someone from another country says we're going to put a 25% tariff, like that's going to be felt by every single Canadian. And I think even in the Liberal Party, I think a lot of people are seeing how Trudeau is handling this situation. They're seeing it as a disaster. I think the only way this is going to change, it's going to be like a Jezebel type issue where it's going to be people on the inside that's going to push her out of that window. Like, I honestly think that that's the only thing that's going to topple this Liberal government before 2025, when there has to be an election, is enough pressure put where even those on the inside are turning against Trudeau. And you're starting to see a glimpse of that a little bit. But I don't know. Is Melanie Joly going to be, is it Joly? Melanie, I think it's Joly, going to be the one to replace him? I don't know who is dumber, Trudeau or her. Next subject. Ooh, I didn't talk about this yesterday. I'm going to talk about it more. I want to see what you guys think about this particular subject. The whole United Health CEO getting murdered and it coming out and who allegedly murdered him. I've been kind of watching this. Like I said, I'm a professionally trained profiler. There's a lot of things that don't make sense. And I have a lot of questions. But there was this video where when he went to the court, and he yells something at media. He yells, "It is completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people." There's a few things that I find really weird. So I watched the video, the video of the assassination. You're seeing him wear like green, gray, whatever. You can't really tell because it's like black and white jacket, but he clearly has a gray backpack. And then when they release the video of who it is, that guy has a black backpack with a gray jacket. So the opposite. Maybe he changed, but then the picture of the face, I'm being a little bit of a conspiracy. I'm going to put my hat on again. There's just some stuff that's so strange. And then when he was arrested, it was, I believe, at McDonald's, and he had the gun with him. He had his manifesto, and he was still wearing the same thing 5 days later. Apparently, the guy saying he didn't do it, he's just being framed. But I don't have confirmation of that. But all of it is a little strange. Like, are you guys getting the same vibe as me? There's like things that are not making sense. And then there's some that's saying that there's a link to Nancy Pelosi. how he was supposed to testify. I don't know. I haven't looked into all of this. I should probably do like a deep dive into it, but I've seen a few things. I'm like, the video of the scene doesn't match the video release. Yeah, he could have changed, but basically they're saying he was still wearing the same thing when he was arrested than he was wearing at the scene. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff about it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think there's more to it? I know some people have kind of mentioned MK Ultra potentially, or that situation. And like, it's possible that Luigi did do it and he's just went crazy. But looking at kind of his background and stuff, there's a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, MK Ultra. I'm gonna really talk conspiracy here. But it's not actually a conspiracy. It's actually something that happened in Saskatchewan. Was actually a part of doing those kind of experiments. It might not have been called MK Ultra, but it was basically they would drug and more than just brainwash, like kind of torturing to the point where you completely change the brain function of an individual. And that's actually a real thing. If you know anything about neuroplasticity, I know a little bit because one of my children, when she was younger, we did do like neuroplasticity training. So where it kind of rewires your brain. So it would train her to do a more emotional control. Anyway, so she would go like every second day for this thing where they would put this thing on her head and she would basically play games that it would react based on the thoughts that she had it was kind of to teach her she could kind of control her thoughts and control her emotions and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not saying he didn't do it, but I have questions. That's my catch line. If you're watching this show, that's my catchphrase. I'm not saying this happened, but I have questions. And this is a classic case. It's really interesting. It's so fascinating. Next subject, and then we're almost done here. Nancy Mace. If you haven't been following Nancy Mace, I believe she's a senator. Let's see. She's a congresswoman representing South Carolina. I get a bit confused with the structure of the US, like in the government in the US. So she's a congresswoman and she's passed like a policy or a bill that blocks non-female from entering female washrooms. And there's been so much like vitriol stuff on Twitter from the left, the trans activists going into the washroom and doing really creepy, weird dances in the women's washroom in retaliation. Just complete joke. But anyways, she was physically assaulted by a pro-trans man at the Capitol tonight, resulting in injuries requiring medical attention. The left is insanely violent. This has gone way too far. I want to talk about a point here. You're seeing that more and more, the left justifying violence because the ends justify the means. Like, I'm not saying that that's true, but that's their thought process. You saw that with the CEO assassination. So many people on the left were celebrating that this man who's a husband and a father of two was assassinated. And they're saying, well, he's the CEO of like a really awful company that's denying. Doesn't matter what justification you're trying to make. Assassinating a person is never okay. It's never justified in any way, shape, or form. But the left justifies it. And this is just a classic case. Same thing when there was the assassination attempt on Trump. The left all celebrated that. Say, oh, he shouldn't have missed. Like, we have to recognize that they're become this insane mindset with a big majority of them where violence is justified in their mind, where the means justifies the ends, the end. And you see that happening when people are radicalized, and you're seeing that a lot. And I do believe the government in the left have just have made that worse, as well as the media has pushed that more and more and more and made it worse. But yeah, I hope she's okay. I'm going to see. I do follow her. I do hope she's okay. I'm going to see. I don't know who it is that did it, but I guess we'll see if there's going to be more updates that's going to come out soon. But good on her for putting that policy forward. I think it takes guts. Ooh, it takes a lot of guts to be the first to kind of go forward and make a stand for women's rights, women's biological women's rights, and I'm glad that she's doing it. Next story. Oh, this is a doom and gloom story. Hundreds of deadly virus samples have vanished from an Australian lab in a major breach of biosecurity. Yesterday, Queensland Health Minister Tim Nichols has announced that 323 vials of live viruses are now unaccounted for. These include nearly 100 vials of Hendra virus, 2 vials of hantavirus, and 223 vials of Lissa virus, all of which are extremely deadly for humans. Again, why are we working on these things? Is this another one of those gain of function research? But what I find interesting is a lot of Canadians don't know this, but we had something very similar happen in Canada. We had a level 4, I think it's level 4 lab in Winnipeg that there was Chinese scientists were sending some of the research that we were doing in Canada. Want to guess where? To China's lab in Wuhan. The lab, I'm pretty sure, the Wuhan lab. The same lab that the virus leaked from. You want to know something else that's a little weird that's connected to Canada? I'm going to be doing a story on this. I'm still doing some research. I'm sure they're going to have their ears up. Now, someone's talking about this. How did they know? There was recently a research paper or whatever come out by some scientists that said the virus couldn't have come from Wuhan. The evidence shows that it came from a what's it called? A wet something? I'm missing the term. Wet market? I think that's what it was. Wet market. Anyways, scientists that was a part of that is from our very own Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. After all the evidence has already been out, the narrative has completely changed. We know it came from the lab, but no, the scientist is doubling down and saying it's from a wet market and not from Wuhan. And she's from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, town that's just really close to me. But anyway, she's also one of the scientists that was a part. I'm trying to remember the name. They signed like some letter along with a bunch of other scientists, and it turned out like the guy who had started it was like charged. But I can't remember what it was for. Anyways, I'll probably talk about this more in my next episode. But yeah, interesting. Hundreds of vials of deadly viruses have gone missing from a lab. And scientists warn they could be weaponized. Right in time for Trump taking office. World War III is potentially coming. Hundreds of pandemic potentially coming. I don't know. Are we in end times? It's looking like it more and more each day. Okay. Next subject. I'm laughing about it. I have to because it's so doom and gloomy. But you know what? I know I know I don't need to be afraid because whatever happens is exactly what was meant to happen. And the battle has already been won. As a believer and a Christian, I know my time here on earth is limited. I have all of eternity to spend with Christ and God. And the battle's already won, so I don't need to be afraid, and we don't need to be afraid. And yeah, okay. There's no other thing to talk about. The next thing that I have open is Wayne Gretzky being a MAGA, but now he promoted the virus. I wonder if he changed his stance on that. I'm curious. I'm just looking at the comments here to see if anyone has more insight. Paid lying. I don't know what you mean by paid lying. Paid lying. Brainwash people regardless of status. Is that like the scientists in Saskatoon? I don't know who you're talking about. What are the other comments? Yeah, so we'll see what will happen. I don't know what I'm going to talk about on the show tomorrow. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that scientist in Saskatoon and her connection to sketchy stuff. Anyways, I don't for 1 second believe that, and I think people aren't buying it, but it's just interesting. Why is she doing that now? What's the reasoning behind it? Like, what's her motivation behind it? That's what I'm curious about. But yeah, we'll end this episode for now. Hopefully tomorrow I will have Instagram and TikTok running. I'm going to see if I can figure that out later today. So I might do a quick live just to test it out to see if it's working later today. And another thing, I have figured out how to do like clips of my episodes. So I'm going to start posting like shorter clips, like 1 to 2 minutes, shorter clips of things that I've talked about. So you might start seeing that, like just little clips, because not everyone's going to sit and watch for like an hour and a half or an hour and 20 minutes or whatever, how long it is. But they might agree, like see one subject, like I'll try to divide the subject and have little clips. And I've got a program that does it all for me. It puts like words and stuff. So I posted one yesterday and last night and today. So I'll try to do that because YouTube's a little bit different in the sense that I don't think your live feed gets shared with people who don't follow you. And if it does, it's a very small numbers. How you grow on YouTube is like short clips. And then if those go viral, then you get more followers. So I thought, well, I'll figure out how to do that, which I did. So I worked on that yesterday. So from going forward, every episode that I do, I'm going to process it like as soon as it's done and then schedule those little short videos from it, maybe 3 to 4 per day. So can get more content out there, especially like with Twitter. Like people are not going to watch like an hour-long thing. Most people don't, but they might watch like a 1-minute clip. So it's another way of kind of growing the reach on Twitter. And that way, when I have like really important things that are happening that I think people should get involved with, that it's going to have a greater reach of influence and hopefully sharing that information. If there's like a scandal happening or whatever, I can do a short clip of it and then people can watch the full thing. I also am going to have some guests coming. So I have a gentleman that I've been talking to on Friday. So that I think that's today's Wednesday. So not tomorrow, but Friday, I have a guest coming on. He's going to talk. He wrote a book. I'm pretty sure his name's Todd Reimer. He wrote a book about Gen Z and how to get Gen Z involved in, I'm just going to see if I can find it quickly on his profile. just how Gen Z doesn't get involved in the workforce, how it's, as an employer, it's harder to hire Gen Z, and what can be done to kind of make employers, I guess, train them on how to work with that generation. I think it's Gen Z. I'm not 100% sure. It's not alpha. It's not boomers. It's not millennial. I think it's Gen Z, like the ones that are just going into the workforce now. So he's going to be coming on my show to talk about that. I think that's a great subject. And yeah. And then my friend Kelly, who is a psychologist now, she used to be a former police officer who's trained similar training to me, but she actually worked in the ICE unit. So she did that for years, and then left the force and became a psychologist to work mostly with men who are victims of childhood sexual abuse. So she wrote a book, and so she's going to be coming on my show, but I think we're going to do that one after the new year. So I'll ask more people to come now that we've kind of figured it out. Last Friday was the first episode where we had guests. So I'm going to try to do that more too, more than just cover kind of things on Twitter. And hopefully we'll get some really interesting guests. I'll probably ask Chris Barber if he wants to come, and Tamara, and all these people I'm kind of interconnected with. And yeah, we'll get them to talk about their court case. I think is it May that they're supposed to get a decision? But yeah, we'll see. Anyways, I'll let you guys go. Have a good afternoon. And if you're not following me already, follow me on all social media platforms, or subscribe, whatever the button is. My Twitter handle on every social media is Nadine G. Ness. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow.